So, continuing on the religion topic, I want to address when and why people think religion is necessary and why that's not true. I'm just going to get straight into it. So, I had someone arguing with me in comments that religion is necessary because it is a part of culture. This person says that they are an atheistic Jew. And as an atheist native person, I agree that those cultural practices are very important and are very heavily intertwined and pretty much inseparable from religion, spirituality, etc. That being said, that does not mean that you need to teach the religious or spiritual aspects of that as a fact. You can teach religious ideals as a fictional history of our people believed this in the past, it was very important to them, and as such, it should be important to us too. You don't have to say, this God is real, and that's why it's important, even if that's mixed in with the culture is important too. You can maintain those traditions, you can maintain those even teachings, you can maintain practices without the God part being literal. I lived it, and I can confidently say it doesn't need to be there in a literal sense. I have no desire to get rid of the only area I don't want to get rid of religion. Again, I would like to say naturally, not just I do not support banning religion. I mean for it to fade out. But I have no desire to get rid of religion and teaching it as history and important to culture context. Because in many places, religion is heavily tied into culture, and that's okay. And I think it's fine if it stays there, as long as it stays an important fictional story. Also, for people who say religion needs to exist because, like mentioned in my other video, people will say it gives hope, it gives meaning, and it makes people feel fulfilled. These things are equally as achievable in a secular and therefore more intellectually honest way as they are with religion. It's just giving yourself real hope instead of false hope and dedicating your life to some unknown afterlife of, be it reincarnation, heaven, hell, some neutral place with Valhalla or whatever, even. Just live for your life and acknowledge it's the only one you have. Because if you're wasting your whole life trying to see what happens at the end of it, you're not living a fulfilling life. You're living for something that will never happen. The least religious countries are also some of the most rated to be the happiest countries, the most prosperous countries, both money-wise and social services and the like. And the countries that are theocracies are the countries that are at war and that have terrorism and that are impoverished. And of course, that's no fault of the citizens there, regardless of their religious status. But the most religious countries are the underprivileged countries, and it's because they are not given the proper support they need, and they fall back on religion. And the fact that the most well-off countries, both in terms of mental health and just being a well-run government, tend to be secular, I don't think this secularness maybe per se is causing it. That would be correlation equals causation. But it just shows that they can coexist, and they do, on a very large scale, coexist. So while I'm not going to say countries like Finland are happier because they're not religious, it still shows that it's very much possible, and it's very much as equally, if not more, achievable as it is in a religious context. I mean, and I think it also says something that the more access to education people have, the less religious they are. There's a reason that scientists and doctors are some of the least religious people. Even actually, surprisingly, philosophers are some of the least religious people. And that people in impoverished communities, people with very underfunded schools, people in countries that don't even have consistent schools at all, tend to be more religious. When exposed to science, when exposed to learning how to think rationally, and when put in a position where you don't need false hope, people become less religious. I'd also like to touch on things like religious charities and religious food banks. And I acknowledge They do great things. I do not have any desire to get rid of them as much as their motives seem shallow to me, that you're doing this thing for, I mean, a variety of reasons. Sometimes because you want to get in God's good book and do a good thing so you can go to heaven. Sometimes, like with Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses, they'll go do charity work, but they make you listen to their bullshit while they do it. Or just simply because that's what their religion tells them to do. And again, I have no desire to get rid of these things or even attempt to make them not religious because they're doing good things and that's what matters. But if you snapped your fingers and religion went away, these places would still exist. They wouldn't go away, just they would be operating under better intentions than religious organizations that generally seek to promote their worldview, to get in God's good book, to just simply listen to God said doing good things is good, so I'm going to do them. Not because I want to selflessly help people and care about them, but because it's what I'm supposed to do. And if a charity, unless it's specifically targeting like at-risk religious people, unless it's targeting to help us specifically religious people, it doesn't need to be religious. And if you have a charity as a religious person, you can have a charity that's secular and still be religious. If your charity is labeled as blah 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 Baptist Church Food Bank, your motives are clear that you are doing it because you're religious or to get your religion out there. The religion is the motive, not the selflessness. And this seems to be an argument among theists and not really among atheists, because I'm more targeting these videos towards atheists who are against anti-theism. But this is more of an argument from a mostly Christian perspective, but it's still an annoying one, that you can't be moral without religion. Morality is part of evolution. We are a social species, and cooperating with each other makes us live longer. And this is not just true of humans. This has been seen in countless animals. It's been seen in, that I can think of off the top of my head that I know for a fact is true, crows, certain primates, cetaceans, and quite a few other animals that live in groups that I can't think of, but I'll put with my sources. Morality is not a human trait. Morality is a trait of intelligent species who live in groups. If you need your holy book, regardless of what it is, to tell you not to kill and essay people, to tell you not to steal, to tell you to be nice, I think you need therapy and not a Bible. Because there are plenty of atheists or people who don't subscribe to organized religion or have a religion without a holy book who are perfectly great people. Sure, there are people like that who are terrible too, but that's just part of being a human, and most of us are somewhere in between. But it shows the fact that there are secular charities and just generally good people who are not religious or who do not belong to an organized religion. Overall, none of the things I listed need religion to exist. Cultures that were created in a religious environment and have religion intertwined with them can still exist and exist the way they always have, but just not teach God as literal. Say this is a story and it's an important one, but it's not true. Charities can exist and always have that are secular, and by association of that, are doing it for generally, usually better intentions. Morality is innate to intelligent social species. We had morality before we had religion. And also, I'd like to throw in there, morality is not objective. Without something to perceive it, morality would not exist. Religion is an outdated idea that we don't need anymore.